20 music videos, 10 promotional style videos, a handful of other just random kind of projects, and 2 short films later, there's something that I've learned that I think if I had learned it sooner, could have changed my filmmaking career and helped me get to a place where I was making projects that I was actually proud of much quicker. And I don't say these things lightly, but if it wasn't for creative partners, I don't think I would have created the majority of the video projects that I've created. But you don't have to take my word for it. All you have to do is look at Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins and some of the amazing films that they've created, or Greg Fraser and Denis Villeneuve and some of the incredible films that they've created, especially most recently with the 2 Dune movies. Or you could just look at any of Christopher Nolan's movies and you'll find that he's really only worked with 2 main cinematographers throughout his career. And I think that this signals something that these best in the industry filmmakers are doing that we should do as well as independent filmmakers, and that is seeking out creative partners. So if you're starting to see the value in creative partners, then you might want to give this video a couple minutes, because I want to talk about some of my favorite projects that I've been able to do because of creative partners. I'm going to go through how, I guess, my strategy to find creative partners. And lastly, we're going to talk about what to do if you feel like there are no creative partners around you. But before we get into all of that, let me just define what a creative partner is. Really, when I talk about a creative partner, what I'm looking for is someone who has similar dreams to me, or is looking to make creative work and put it out into the world because of their skill set and my skill set were a natural fit. Like, we mesh well together because my skill set complements their skill set. Does that make sense? So I think that, you know, when you're looking for creative partners, that is something that is important to keep in mind. But recently I've gotten to do a lot of fun projects, and projects that I found a lot of fulfillment in, a lot of creative fulfillment. And by no means are they the best videos out there, but they've just been really creatively fulfilling. And one of those is this monthly content that I'm making with a band called Joan. And basically, I've worked with this band since very early on in my career. We had some mutual connections early on, and that's how they started to be a creative partner in my journey. And through different music videos and stuff like that, we've grown closer and closer as just kind of this working relationship. And then recently, I got a studio space in the same space that they have a studio space. And so it just worked out where I'm now around all the time, and I'm able to make videos for them on a monthly basis. And these videos, I just think that they are unlike anything that I've made, and I'm really excited about them. And I think if I didn't have Joan as a creative partner, I don't know if I would be making these type of videos. Same goes for this grilling video or this college promo video. These things are videos that I've made through a creative partner named Chris, and we have worked together for probably 2 years now. And just recently we've started to really hit our stride and find a couple projects that I think embody the type of work we want to be creating together. And he works at a marketing company, and he's brought me along to create projects with him and his marketing company that he works for. And so those things are things I think that are portfolio pieces and are probably things that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to create without him as a creative partner. And the last thing I'll mention is last year I shot 2 short films that are currently in festivals right now. And I did that with an amazing crew of people in Oklahoma. And I honestly feel incredibly grateful to be a part of this crew of filmmakers and creatives. And I don't know how I landed there, but I think that I am just so thankful to be a part of it. And one of the films that we created has been very successful in festivals so far. And so again, that's a film that I'm probably not shooting if it's not for those creative partners. So creative partners are important. We understand that, but how do we find creative partners? This is something that I'm explaining to you now because I am looking retrospectively back on my own journey in finding creative partners, but I don't think it's something that I understood how to do when I first started filmmaking. So hopefully If you can understand how to do it early on, then it'll help you progress in your career a lot faster. But really, I think I kind of touched on it earlier, but when your skill set and dreams align and complement someone else's skill set and dreams, then you are probably on track to finding that creative partner. And some creative partnerships may not have any money involved. In fact, a lot of the first music videos I did for Joan and other people didn't have any money involved, but I just saw what they were doing creatively and I was like, okay, I want to get behind this. I want to put my skills into this and build this relationship. And so sometimes those relationships won't start monetarily. They'll just start on favors exchanged back and forth. But other times, like my relationship with Chris, we have always worked together in a professional paid environment, and that's just kind of the nature of our working relationship. But because of that, we haven't always landed on projects that we look at and say, this is exactly what we want to put on a portfolio. It's more so working on projects for clients, and sometimes the client projects line up well with what we want to, or what I want to put on my portfolio, and probably him as well. So when you're looking for creative partners, I would stray away from the need to get paid for those projects right away. I think if you see someone doing something really cool creatively, that could be an artist or a musical artist or a photographer or another videographer or a graphic designer, anybody that is in the creative fields, I think if you admire what they're doing, then you could think about different ways that your skill set could benefit them. If you happen to find yourself in a working relationship with someone that you just feel is always going to look out for you and is going to take care of you, but also has some of the same creative goals that you do, then that could also be the start of a really great creative relationship. The truth is, when it comes to client work, you're not always going to be creating things that you want to put on your portfolio, although you still, I still find joy in creating things that don't go on my portfolio, but that are exactly what the client's looking for. So when it comes to paid creative partners, every project may not be a portfolio piece, but it'll certainly go further in growing that relationship to a point where then when you do get the opportunity to create some things that you want to put on your portfolio, you already have a shorthand, you already work well together, and you're ready to go. But I totally understand at this point that there are a lot of people out there that maybe don't think that there are any creative partners around them. And I certainly felt that way for a while. I live in Arkansas, and so the density of creatives in Arkansas is much less than places like LA, New York, Nashville, Austin, places like that. And so for a long time, I kind of felt like I was alone on an island, which is totally not the case, but I felt that way for some reason. And I think half of that had to do with me just not getting out there and talking to people and being willing to put myself and my skills out there to fail sometimes, but also to grow in my skill set. And the other half of it was genuinely just not knowing where to look when it comes to finding creative people. So if you're in a similar spot as I was and you don't feel like you can find creative partners, here's what I think you should do. First off, I would look at the closest knit circle of people that are around you. One of the first people I made videos for was my brother. And when I was doing photography before video, I was taking photos of my brother. And so we have always kind of been like best friends, and he's just been a subject for me in my projects for a lot of different scenarios. This project you're watching right now is an example of that. It doesn't get any closer than that, than family. Like family, best friends, people like that, even if they're not doing something creatively, they have to have some sort of hobby or do something for work. And you can look at what kind of videos you want to make and how that relates to what they do, and then mold those two together, and suddenly you could be creating a project that you could put on your portfolio. Because I don't think creative partners always have to be people who perfectly line up with your goals, or both of your goals perfectly line up. Although for me and my brother, that is the case. I think that someone who's willing to let you follow them around and film them or be the subject in your films could also be a great creative partner. in your journey. Now, outside of that, once you start creating these different pieces of work with those close-knit people to you, you're able to, one, improve on your skills, but two, you're actually able to start putting work out there, start putting your name out there. And again, I'm talking from a place of, if you're in this place, you're probably just starting filmmaking. But there's also a ton of people, and I was this way for a long time, where I had been doing filmmaking for a decently long time, but had never really created projects that I wanted to show people. And so that's where creative partners came in my journey. It's like I wasn't a new filmmaker, but I didn't have a ton of projects to show. And that's how creative partners really started to benefit my filmmaking journey. So as you're creating projects for these close-knit people in your community, then you're able to put those projects out, whether it's on social media or a website or whatever. And then that's going to help you get in the door to different creative partners that may be a little bit larger in scale, or someone you're not as well connected with. But I do think it's important, if you're reaching out, especially to someone you don't know, there's two main things to keep in mind. Number one, if you're reaching out to someone and you want to create a certain type of work for them, then you should have that type of work in your portfolio. I think it's very hard for people to imagine what you could create for them if they can't see themselves in your work. But two, I think it's important to reach out and build a relationship first. There are a handful of people that I talk to in Instagram DMs all the time, and I've never done any work for them, and I don't know if I ever will, and I'm not talking to them in hopes that I will. I just value what they're doing with their career and their work, and I wanted to build that relationship. And so getting out there, putting yourself out there can be really important and really helpful in that journey, and it will help you gain more connections. And I think if you reach out and you are very honoring of their time, you add value to them, and you just don't waste their time, I think that you'll find that people are more receptive to that than you might think. So start with your close-knit group, create projects for them that you're proud of and that fit the kind of projects you want to make. And then take those projects and show them to people that may be a little less in your circle of friends, and just see how that goes. I think using those portfolio projects to pitch to other people is the key. And from there, you can slowly grow your network. Now, last thing I should say, I am not a networking person. I, in fact, hate networking. But I simply have viewed the networking side of my filmmaking career as just making more friends. And if at some point I end up working with those friends, then that's awesome. But if you are networking or reaching out to people with the sole purpose of working with them, it shows. And that is something that I think you should try to stay away from as best as possible. Now, I don't have this all figured out. I am almost 10 years into my filmmaking journey, and I'm just starting to create some projects that I know that I will look back on and love in another 10 years. And so I'm not saying it'll take you 10 years. Hopefully this video saves you a couple years. And if it was helpful to you, let me know in the comments. And more than that, if there's something that you're trying to figure out, a problem you're trying to solve, or a question that you think I can answer, let me know in the comments, because I'm literally going to be making videos based on your comments in the coming months. So let me know. I'd love to help. And until next time, let's get out there and make better films. 20 minutes of recording,